Thank you very much, everyone. Before I begin, I'd like to offer my condolences and best wishes to the people all across our great South who have endured deadly tornadoes and other severe weather in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and South Carolina. My administration will do everything possible to help those communities get back on their feet. We're speaking with their governors and representatives. FEMA is already on its way, and they got there as soon as we heard the word. I said, get out there. So FEMA is there, and you know the great job that FEMA does. It's really something very special. So we just want to say warmest condolences, and we're with you all the way. It's a tough deal. That was a bad level 5. That was a bad group. That's as high as it gets. It was a bad grouping of tornadoes, something that's something incredible. The power, the horrible, destructive power. America is continuing to make critical progress in our war against the virus. Over the weekend, the number of daily new infections remained flat. Nationwide, flat. Hospitalizations are slowing in hotspots like New York, New Jersey, Michigan, and Louisiana. This is clear evidence that our aggressive strategy to combat the virus is working and that Americans are following the guidelines. It's been incredible what they've done. You looked at the charts, and the charts are, and the models from early on predictions where 100 and 120,000 people looked like if they did well, they were going to unfortunately perish. And we're going to be hopefully way, way below that number. So that will be a sign of people doing things right, but it's still just a horrible thing all over the world. 184 countries. This is all a tribute to our wonderful healthcare advisors and experts who have been with us right from the beginning. We appreciate it so much. So today, the Department of Health and Human Services is announcing 5 new contracts to procure large numbers of additional ventilators under the Defense Production Act, which we used a lot, by the way, which you didn't like to talk about, in addition to the 1,300 we received today. We received today 1,300 additional ventilators. Now, we're probably not going to need them, but we can add that to our stockpile, which is very big, and we can move it around should the surge take place and should it be a very substantial surge. We're ready to rock. The contracts are with General Electric, Hillrom, Medtronic, ResMed, and Vyaire, combined with the DPA contracts that we announced last week with General Motors and Philips, and 2 other contracts with Hamilton and Zoll. We're adding 6,190 ventilators to the strategic national stockpile, of which we have a lot already, thousands, close to 10,000. But this will be added by May 8th, another 29,000 by the end of May, and more than 120,000 total we will have by the end of the year. Now, we're going to help other countries. We're going to help states if they need it. We may help some states stockpile. You know, they're supposed to buy their own stockpile. They have state stockpiles. They're supposed to be using that. And unfortunately, most of the states weren't there. And a lot of people didn't want to talk about it, but they weren't there. We will talk about it at the right time if you want to. I at this point, I'm more focused on getting past this nightmare of an epidemic or a pandemic, anything you want to call it. We got to get past it. No one who has needed a ventilator has not gotten a ventilator. Think of that. You know, you heard all about ventilators. We need ventilators because they didn't have them, because the state should have had them. No one who has needed a ventilator has not gotten a ventilator. No one who has needed a hospital bed has been denied a hospital bed. That's not even really our responsibility. Now, if we can help, we're going to do it. But that's where the Army Corps of Engineers did such a great job. We built over 20,000 beds. In fact, we built thousands more than we've actually needed to be safe. We wanted to be safe, and they rose to this incredible occasion. I mean, we built more beds than we thought. We thought in Louisiana we were going heavy. And again, when I called the governor, I said, maybe we shouldn't build that second hospital because we don't want to build it if you don't need it. He called back. He said, I don't think we're going to need it. They had 1,000 rooms, 1,000 beds. And they used a lot of them, but they didn't need the other one, so we stopped it because we don't want to waste. But we're prepared to build thousands more should we need it. I don't think we're going to need it because it looks like we're plateauing and maybe even in many cases coming down. In addition, we've ordered a total of 60 mobile contamination systems. So the decontamination system from Bethel in Ohio is an incredible thing because it takes the masks and up to 20 times you can decontaminate a mask. And I've been asking from the beginning, why can't we sterilize or sanitize these masks? And it turned out we can. And there was a great company in Ohio. They sent us some great equipment, and they're doing that now. And now we're going to have more than 33 million N95 masks per week will be cleaned, decontaminated, and it'll be great. It's something that, frankly, I think people should have thought of a long time ago. 5 more flights landed today as part of the Project Airbridge, our massive airlift operation to bring personal protective equipment into the United States, which has now delivered nearly 500,000 N95 masks, 370 million gloves, 25 million surgical masks, and 4.9 million gowns. So we have millions of gowns, gloves, masks, all surgical equipment coming in should the states need it. Now, the states are supposed to be buying their own stuff, but should they need it, we are ready to give them because we're building up our stockpile again like crazy. Remember, I and you saw the stories, I inherited this administration, Mike, myself, the whole administration, we inherited a stockpile where the cupboards were bare. There was nothing. And I say it, and I'll say it again, just like we didn't have ammunition, we didn't have medical supplies, we didn't have ventilators, we didn't have a lot of things that should have been had, and you can read your own stories on that because you know what happened. They didn't want to spend the money, but we did. To date, we've facilitated the supply of more than 38 million N95 masks nationwide. This week, we'll be sending 2 million N95 masks to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The Vice President will go into more detail. He's got great detail on that, and I think it's a pretty amazing story. We have a lot of masks already in stock, and we have more coming. We're further expanding hospital surge capacity in key areas of the opening, and we have a portion of certain VA hospitals and non-veteran coronavirus patients, including at the East Orange, New Jersey Medical Center, as well as facilities in Manhattan and Brooklyn. They're ready, they're able, they're beautiful. Hopefully we won't need too many of them because, frankly, we built everything that the governors wanted, and in many cases it's too much. We told them it was too much, but we wanted to err on the side of caution. The United States has now conducted nearly 3 million tests for the virus. 3 million, the most of any nation. We are performing approximately 115,000 tests every single day, and our rate of testing is especially high in areas hardest hit by the virus. If you look, and that's really, and it's hit some areas, the virus very, very hard. For example, per capita testing in New York is higher than the rest of the world. The NIH, CDC, and FDA are also currently validating several antibody tests that will allow us to determine whether someone has already had the virus and potentially become immune to infection. We're looking at that. The antibody tests are going to be very interesting over the next short while. A lot of things are being developed as we speak. In the race to develop effective treatments, the drug company Gilead announced that its drug remdesivir has shown promising results, very promising, in compassionate use settings. In addition, the FDA has just granted emergency use authorization for a device that removes certain proteins from the bloodstream, possibly preventing a patient's immune system from overreacting to the virus and damaging vital organs, which is a big problem. Furthermore, over the last 7 days, my administration has deployed roughly 28 million doses of hydroxychloroquine from our national stockpile. We have millions of doses that we bought, and many people are using it all over the country. And just recently, a friend of mine told me he got better because of the use of that drug. So who knows? And you combine it with Z-Pak, you combine it with zinc, depending on your doctor's recommendation, and it's having some very good results, I'll tell you. Think if anybody recommended it other than me, it would be used all over the place, to be honest with you. I think the fact that I recommended it, I probably set it back a lot. But it's a lot of good things are happening with it, a lot of good tests. Scientists are also pursuing a blood therapy known as convalescent plasma, convalescent plasma. This therapy uses antibodies from the blood of recovered patients to treat those who are sick. And this is something that actually is a very old procedure, but it's done in a very modern way. During this difficult time, we're also working to ensure that the 2020 census is completed safely and accurately. We may be asking for an extension because obviously they can't be doing very much right now. They wouldn't even be allowed to do it. So the census, we're going to be asking for a delay, a major delay. I think, how can you possibly be knocking on doors for a long period of time now? The Census Bureau recently made the decision to temporarily suspend its field operation data collection activities to help stop the spread. In addition, while millions of Americans continue to complete their questionnaire online, the Census Bureau has asked Congress for a 120 extension. I don't know that you even have to ask them. This is called an act of God. This is called a situation that has to be, they have to give. And I think 120 days isn't nearly enough. My administration is also taking bold action to help American workers. On Friday, Americans began receiving the cash payments authorized by a historic $2 trillion relief bill. By the end of the week, nearly 80 million Americans will receive a total of $147 billion. And from what the Secretary of the Treasury tells me, that's very much on time and going very nicely. He'll be speaking in a moment. In payments, these payments go directly into the banks and the bank accounts of these people. Millions of additional payments will follow. The typical family of four will receive $3,400. That's for a family of four. That's something. Additionally, through our Paycheck Protection Program, which is a tremendous success, and they should extend it and increase it. This has been a tremendous success. So successful that the banks are taking a little bit longer to distribute the money, but it's going rapidly. We've now processed over $200 billion in loans to help small businesses retain their workers. Now we urgently need lawmakers to set aside the partisan agendas and to replenish this program with new funds, because it's really something that has been an incredible success. And they need more money to keep it going, to take care of these businesses and keep them open. I want to thank the many governors, health professionals, scientists, and business leaders for their incredible hard work and input over the past month, and even long beyond a month, Mike, I would say. We've been working together with a lot of them for, it seems like, forever. I've been having many discussions with my team and top experts, and we're very close to completing a plan to open our country, hopefully even ahead of schedule. And that's so important. We will soon finalize new and very important guidelines to give governors the information they need to start safely opening their states. My administration's plan and corresponding guidelines will give the American people the confidence they need to begin returning to normal life. That's what we want. We want to have our country open. We want to return to normal life. Our country's going to be open, and it's going to be successfully opened. And we'll be explaining over a very short number of days exactly what is going to be. We've also, as you probably heard, developed a committee. We're actually calling it a number of committees with the most prominent people in the country, the most successful people in the various fields, and we'll be announcing them tomorrow. This weekend, the United States also helped facilitate an unprecedented agreement among the 23 nations of OPEC+. That's OPEC plus additional energy-producing nations, representing many of the world's largest oil-producing countries, to stabilize oil markets. And we have, in fact, and I think you've seen a big stabilization over the last couple of days. Together, countries around the world will cut oil production by approximately 20 million barrels. People are saying 10 million, but we think that the number that they'll actually hit is going to be closer to 20 million barrels a day, and that will help a lot with saving jobs all over Texas and Oklahoma and North Dakota and many of other of our big energy states. This historic action will help nearly 11 million American workers who are supported by the U.S. oil and gas industry. It's a very monumental agreement. I want to thank Saudi Arabia and the King of Saudi Arabia, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, both. I want to thank President Putin of Russia, and I want to thank a very good friend of mine, man who's become a friend of mine. The President of Mexico showed great flexibility, President Lopez Obrador. He showed great flexibility, and and tremendous intelligence doing what he did. It was not that easy for him, and I want to thank Mexico and the president. This is a very historic deal, very historic, so we'll see how it all goes. In this time and challenge, and we are certainly in a time probably like we haven't been in many, many decades. We are strengthened and sustained by the bonds of love and loyalty that unite all Americans. I'm so proud of the American people. Everywhere you look, you see the patriotism of our people shining through and the courage of our doctors and nurses on the front lines, in the dedication of our food supply workers, and in the commitment of every citizen to achieving victory over the virus. That's what's going to happen. It's going to happen sooner than people think, and we're going to be smart about it, very, very smart about it. We're going to be safe about it. We're going to be listening also to the great doctors and medical professionals. Together, we're beating back the invisible enemy, and we're paving the way for great resurgence, really a great resurgence for American prosperity. Our country wants to go back. They want to go back to work. They're going to go back safely, and that's what we want.